Welcome to Hospitality on the Rise, the podcast about the people shaping the hospitality industry and their journeys. I'm your host, Alice Cheng, founder and CEO of Culinary Agents, hospitality's go-to hiring platform. And I'm here to give you your dose of virtual mentorship. Here, we'll be sharing the stories, lessons learned, and advice from hospitality leaders who've carved out their own path to success. After all, this industry is where many get their start and go on to do incredible things. Whether you're a pro, starting out, or just love the hustle, this podcast highlights what makes hospitality extraordinary: the people. I'm so excited to have Sean Feeney here with us today. Sean is the co-founder of Grovehouse Hospitality, which includes amazing restaurants like Lilia, Misi, MISIPASTA, and Fini Pizza, for those of you carb lovers out there. He's a board of directors member of FDNY Foundation, a nonprofit supporting New York City Fire Department, and the chairperson of Food Education Fund, nonprofit supporting New York City high school students through hands-on programs in culinary arts, hospitality, and entrepreneurship, amongst other things that we will get into during this show. Thank you, Sean, for joining us today.
I'm so happy to be here. It's always good to see you. And
You as well. This is
thank
like I keep saying this, and folks who are listening to more of the shows will know that I need to get new material, but it's like my excuse to catch up with people, like hear what's going on, learn a little bit more about them. So I get really, really excited. Um, and what's great about your story as we get started here is that you are somewhat of a career changer. So very interested to hear about how things kind of unfolded. But take us back to pre-hospitality profession for you. Where did it all begin?
oh, uh, well, I think my love of hospitality and restaurants started when I was 3 years old, just because my parents invested heavily in experiences for myself and my sister. Um, I never thought it would lead to me actually being in the industry. Even when I decided to be a partner of Missy Robbins, I didn't think I was actually going to leave my day job because of that. But luckily, I kind of fell into something that I was meant to do, and it gets me out of bed every morning to pursue. And I'm grateful. Before the restaurants and being in the hospitality industry, I spent my first adult chapter after college in finance. I was a corporate bond, high yield bond, credit derivatives trader, Goldman Sachs, and then eventually a hedge fund called Anchorage Capital. And during that journey, I got married to my wife, Maria. We moved into an apartment building in the West Village. And right below our apartment was Missy had moved in. And that's how we met each other back in 2009. And then, you know, we were we were just kind of ships passing in the night. We didn't really see each other that much other than me going to her restaurant, Avoce, where she was the executive chef. Um, and then one night when Hurricane Sandy hit New York City, I had come home from work and Missy was in the lobby of our building. And I asked her, if you're not doing anything tonight, why don't you come on upstairs? We're cooking dinner. And that was the night we became friends. And then a year later, um, we decided to become partners in 2014, and Lilia opened in 2016. But yeah, I'm grateful for it. I stayed in finance until 2019. So Lilia and Missy were opened, and I essentially was going to work every morning and leaving at 5 and going right home to Williamsburg, where we moved after Lilia opened. And I would work the room and build this team and company until I finally felt like I could confidently say to Maria that we didn't have to have the two jobs anymore, and we could just focus on building a hospitality company. And that was a really good feeling, and I'm grateful that that could happen.
Yeah, and those of you who are familiar with, life and living in the New York area, you know that it's actually rare that you ever even meet or know your neighbors in a way. So, I
Yeah,
feel like
it was lucky. It's interesting because if that didn't happen, I just don't think this all would have happened for us. It's actually Maria and I were looking at homes back where we grew up in New Jersey right around that time when I started having some feelings about potentially partnering with Missy. It was sort of like a make or break moment. We were gonna go home. That was always the plan for us. And luckily, we're good at collecting friends, my wife and I, and we just love people and we get to know people. And we were just, blessed to be able to walk in on that apartment and then become friends with Missy.
Yeah, an act of hospitality led you down a path towards a career in hospitality, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the only thing I was ever really truly good at in finance. I was, love making friends and building relationships, and it's the thing that I just do naturally. It's the thing that comes easiest to me, but it never made me extraordinary at my job in finance. It gave me a chance to fight and create an edge and to compete in finance. But when um when I would go out at night to make these relationships, it was the best I was in finance. I was at restaurants every single night. I was a professional diner.
I was gonna say that expense account must have come in handy, right?
Oh, legendary expense account, and, people still talk about it. I would get approval all the time. It was always business related, but my expense accounts were absolutely legendary everywhere I went, and, but it meant a lot to me. It made me all these spaces that I would go to, these restaurants, I just felt my best self when I entered them. I felt very comfortable in them. Um, even if I didn't feel comfortable or as an expert at what I did in the field of high yield bond risk taking and trading, I felt like I could be in a space like a restaurant and make not just me feel like I fit in and made me more comfortable, but it was a place where I could make others feel comfortable as well and fit in. And I always loved it, and it certainly, I didn't think it was going to lead to this, but I'm glad it did.
Yeah, and, for all of those kind of career changers and people who do something, during the day or their 9 to 5 but they're dreaming about, cooking or doing something in this industry. See, it's a scary thing when you kind of shift, right? I was a career changer as well. I feel like this industry is a center of gravity anyway. So if you loved it in the beginning, it kind of keeps pulling at you until you either give in or you like, I guess,
Yeah.
just give in, right?
Yeah, I lived, for, 13 years, 2003 until 2016 as a finance professional employee, and I definitely I look back on that time, and I it was a job that, I didn't dislike, and at times I was pretty good at, and there was also times I wasn't very good at it, but I also lived in fear always that I was not, extraordinary, and if the music stopped, they would take my seat. I always felt like that would be a possible outcome, and whether it was true or not, I did live in that world, and every Sunday night, I certainly had the scaries when Maria, my wife, and I would finish up our show on a Sunday night, and I would think about Monday morning, and, I also, during that time, viewed success as, finite things. They were end of year bonuses, daily P&L, promotions. And I guess the biggest shift I had when I entered the hospitality industry and felt differently, and I knew that this is how I was, supposed to feel going forward in life. A lot of things shifted. Not me as a person. I was the same person that I was at the trading floor and the floor of Lilia, but my outlook on things. What was successful to me was just doing the thing I love every day, creating space and moments for people to hopefully make their days better. And I always tried to do that growing up, but now I was on this mission that I was like, whoa, that's success. If I could impact someone's life in a positive way, whether that was a guest, but more importantly, the people that worked with us, that's what I was supposed to be doing. And immediately I stopped thinking about it as a job. And today I can't tell the difference between a Sunday or a Wednesday or a Thursday. And that to me was the biggest blessing. I didn't even think that that was possible. I was just in this mode as an employee of, the day-to-day grind. And that's not a bad place to be. But then when you do feel this other thing of fulfillment and you stop measuring success on the finite targets you set for yourself, it really it can change things, and it's a great blessing. It's hard to do, but luckily I was able to find it in sort of a roundabout backdoor way.
Yeah, that's incredible. I mean, oftentimes people say like work life balance, and like in hospitality, it's more like work life harmony. It's people aren't like I do this and I make sure I make the same amount of time for this and everything's balanced, and because there's no balance really.
Yeah, I mean, I still think, I still think people in hospitality, any industry, it does feel like a job to a lot of people, but I also think it's possible for everyone to find what they truly love to do and what they are meant to express their genius in that excites them. And when you do get into that mode, I feel there is a world where work life balance is one, and it is wake up every morning and you're just obsessed. You're obsessed to just go through the day, and that's not to say there's never stress. There's more stress than ever, but you find some sort of resilience that allows you to feel like, all right, I'm going to tackle this because I know like it's what I'm supposed to be doing, and no matter what is faced, I'm facing obstacles. You meet it. But I do think everybody has the ability to feel that way, no matter what industry they're in. It's the most important thing is if you're in that industry, you're expressing your genius in your job. And if you're in the right job, then you really could feel amazing. And that's when you start losing track of the days and you just want to be so good at it. You just want to attack it from all angles and you go to bed excited for the next challenge the next day.
Yeah, yeah. Your annual 2%, 2.5% increases no longer are motivating, right? Or were they ever? But
Yeah, yeah. I mean, honestly, most of those goals that I used to set for myself in finance, very few times I exceeded them. Most of the times I didn't meet them, and that was it was a tough thing to overcome. But you just set the next goal for the next year and do your best. But Yeah, I don't miss worrying about Monday morning. That's the biggest thing. I really don't miss. And I also think the stresses that I currently have every day are much bigger and much more important than the stresses that I used to have in finance. But I seem to be excited about facing them, as scary as they might be.
and you have a lot of people because you've grown your empire here with Missy. You have a lot of people depending on you continuing to, be excited and deal with the challenges and grow and be innovative. Um, so let's take me to growth. I mean, you have Lilia. You guys find this amazing space. You build it into what it is today. At what point were you like, we're ready for the second one?
Well, I was about 2 weeks into it because I felt something. Like I was there every night. I was working the room. I was building a team, getting the trust of the people that worked with us. Missy and I certainly uh, thought really hard and long about what our mission was and what the values we were going to put in place and how we were going to walk the walk. And we could tell immediately that it was going to be exceeding our pretty high expectations. And um, I knew that like we were gonna. I was started. The only reason why I really knew is because in those first couple weeks, I would get all these people coming up to me, giving me their business card, and I have a space here. I'm a developer here, and they thought I was the general manager because I really didn't do anything other than walk around and just be nice to people. And they probably just wanted a reservation, but I would always email them immediately, and I started learning about what it could look like. And I also knew that in our conversations when we were deciding if Missy was deciding if she wanted to be my partner, we spoke about growth, and we were pretty honest with each other about not wanting a lot of restaurants and doing things really small and thoughtful and slow for the long run. And here you go, 2 weeks into it, and I'm like, "Whoa, like, when is number 2 gonna happen?" But I knew that if I went to Missy immediately, she would have killed me. I also knew if I went to my wife, because I felt something, I was like, "Wow, I'm so happy with how I feel this way." If I went to my wife and said, "We're gonna leave finance and just do, Lilia," she probably would have been mad at me too. So I just sucked it up, and what I was really trying to think hard about was managing, the time of when the next one was going to open. Also understanding what our brand was. Like, really, I started becoming obsessed about, wow, we are killing it in terms of popularity, and I want to know exactly why. Because there's so many Italian restaurants in the city. There's so many popular Italian restaurants in the city, and we're certainly different than them. But I wanted to understand why people loved us. And I used the time in between Lilia and Misi to really try to understand, like, what is our brand and how do we keep that authentic no matter how many restaurants we end up opening up. And that's kind of been our definition of scale. I remember early on people saying, "You're crazy for doing a restaurant." But then when Lilia opened, they're like,
Can I have a
"I'm
reservation?
in."
No.
Can we invest in the next one? How many more are you gonna make? And it was like, well, that's not our definition of scale. Like, I wanted to scale the notion of trying to help make every day a good day. And that's kind of always been the thing that I'm excited about. And I think you could do that in many ways. And our hope is still not a lot of restaurants. They're so hard. They're so hard to open. First of all, that's the biggest hard thing to do, is like actually open the doors. And then when they do open 2 years later and it's a massive investment, you kind of think like, is this the only way to scale a hospitality company? And we haven't thought that that was the way since 2014 when we started talking about being partners. And I feel even more strongly about that today. It's not to say that you shouldn't open restaurants, but I think it's important to know what your brand is. If you really want to grow, it's what makes us different and special and excited. Why are we doing it? What are we in pursuit of? And then if you feel strongly about that, it's, well, how do we monetize that? What's the best way, the most authentic way to grow and monetize that and to continue to build the community? Because that's really at the end of the day what brands do. The great ones, they're finding ways to connect with people, and then the better they're able to tell them what they're about, more people will say, I want to be a part of that. And I think that's the thing that we've always tried to stay true to, versus we've said no way more than said yes every day. Like, I've say no to opportunities, and it's hard because it's exciting. But if you're really diligent and true to who you are, then you realize, what makes you special, and how do you continue to grow that? That's the definition of scale for us.
And that is so important in both how guests see you, also as a recruiting mechanism, right? People who work in the industry, like I said, there's a lot of restaurants, there's a lot of places that hospitality workers can find, what they're looking for potentially. I think one of the things that we see is, we push employer brand as well. And more, I would say over the past 10 years or so, there's been this, you know, convergence, if you will. It's not just we talk to the guests and we talk to, potential or our team or internally. It's whatever you're putting out there needs to be, consistent and coherent,
Totally.
or else it
Totally.
doesn't seem authentic, right?
I think about it all the time. Our mission statement, we create inspiring experiences to help make every day a good day. That's not to guests only. Like that, we lead that with our teams. That's the thing. It's so awesome to walk into our restaurants to see happy guests and excited people. But the thing that just gets me so excited every day is the people that work with us. That's the thing I think about the first thing in the morning. It's, how do we get people that work with us so proud and excited to be where they work? How do we measure that? And there's so many ways we do. We always have. And I think that, to me, like, as you're growing businesses, is certainly like with different spaces where you can't be as present as you normally would like to be. How do you make sure that the people there that are working with you know exactly what you are trying to accomplish, why you're doing it, all the things on how you're doing it, and know the people that are excited and in and aligned, and then get the trust of you. That's like building that trust between you and the people you work with, so that they feel comfortable coming to you saying, "Hey, I want to go from a line cook to a sous chef. How do I do that?" That's one. That's an easy one. But but they also feel comfortable saying, um, "I'm an artist. Can I show you my stuff? Uh, I'm 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 a jewelry maker. Can I do um, a trunk show at one of the spaces when we're not using it? Or can you write me a law school recommendation? Um, or I want to have my birthday dinner in the back of Fini with my family. I want to come to the restaurants when I'm on night off. Like those are the things that I think get me most excited about just being in this forever. It's not even about like opening more restaurants. It's like the relationships you can make with people so that maybe they're lucky enough to feel the way I feel every day waking up. Because if I can do that, then that's it. That's how I'm measuring success.
Yeah, I love that big we've had side conversations over the years about how this industry is just a feeder of other professions. And some people it's one of the beautiful things about it, right? You learn your skills, you spend your time here, you build your networks, you determine what you love about it, what you don't love about it, and maybe it's your place for the long run, maybe it's not. And that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I was in finance, if you were this is 10, 15 years ago, if you nobody would think like I'm going to leave this job to go into hospitality because hospitality was a restaurant. How could I leave this profession to go into restaurants? And I think about hospitality now. It's the most noble profession in the world. But I also now look at the makeup of our teams, and it's truly remarkable. I have high school kids that are managing adults that have left their job at Goldman Sachs. And it's it's just incredible. And the only thing I could really try to communicate the feelings around this is hospitality is the industry that's rapidly expanding. And I look at the desk that I joined out of college at Goldman Sachs. There was 35 traders on it. Today there's 3 on that same desk. And you could go down the line of all these industries, how they've just kind of like shrunk. But hospitality continues to expand. And the thing about it is if the compassion, creativity, collaboration, communication, if these are things that you feel like you're passionate about and really good at, like this is the thing that makes you special, that you're genius, you could be extraordinary in hospitality. And hospitality is not just working on the restaurant line or on the floor. There's a tech component. Obviously, I'm talking to the genius himself. There's media, there's hotels, there's membership clubs. There's every retail company in the world right
Yep.
now trying desperately to put in coffee shops and bars into their spaces to make them more communicative to the community they're selling to. Like hospitality is the most exciting profession, the most noble profession, and anybody can do it. Like literally anybody can do it. There should never be a barrier to entry into this industry because you're simply trying to make someone feel better. That's it. Like if you are in hospitality, you are simply trying to make someone feel something when you see them. And that's there's no barrier to that. And that's why a kid from East New York can lead a team of people who graduated from Princeton, worked at Goldman Sachs, and is should be normal. It should be normal.
I love that. I feel like, sometimes the only barrier is the individual, right? It's
Yeah,
the notion of, or it's the risk,
that's
or
it.
it's the FOMO or whatever, right?
What's possible? Self-advocacy, like it just not being scared to ask what's out there. That's what's holding you back. That's what should be the only thing holding you back. I think the industry is going in a direction where at the end of the day, that will be the only thing that holds people back. It's them. It's their self confidence and security in who they are. And that's where I hope it's going, and I feel confident that that's where we're going.
Yeah, and just to further paint this picture, because this is yes, this show is all about Sean, but Sean is also being humble a bit here because not only is he talking about this in hospitality in the industry, but you are also doing some really amazing things with kind of building the future pipeline, helping educate and motivate the next, generation, if you will, not only about, this industry adjacent, but also entrepreneurship and what's possible, right? So tell me a little bit about how you got into the food education fund kind of program.
I had just left my finance job in 2019, and we were about 6 months into Misi, the restaurant, being opened, and I recognized that our labor cost was a little high, and I was trying to understand why, and it was apparent that we were short-staffed in back of house. And I started asking Missy about, well, why? We always have stages coming through. We always have resumes. We have like a really good pipeline of talent. Um, but it just seemed at this moment in time, we were having trouble finding people. And I just, after a couple questions, Missy said, if you think you know it all, you just do it. And I Googled culinary schools, New York City. And one of the first schools that came up was the Food and Finance High School in Hell's Kitchen. And I emailed a link. And about 10 minutes after I emailed, um, I got an email back saying, "Do you want to take a tour of the school?" And 2 days later, I took a tour of the school. I immediately said, "Well, this has nothing to do with my labor costs anymore. This is the future right here." I could not believe what I saw. I saw 400 kids, freshmen to seniors in high school, going to school every day, doing math, social studies, history, science, literature, English, but every day having a curriculum around hospitality and culinary arts. They were doing something, multiple things a day, focusing on this. And I was like, what is going on here? And shortly after, I learned that there was a nonprofit called Food Education Fund that supported these high school students going to the school through experiential learning programs, whether that was having some of these kids, freshman and sophomore year, come to the restaurants for a dining experience, having industry professionals go into the school after school to do demos, and then junior year, having the ability to take some of these kids as interns. And I just was like, this is it. I always hoped in my life, dreamed that there would be something that my wife and I could get behind, that we could move the needle. And now I was like, here it is. Like, and it's not even financial because we don't have enough for that, but we have the ability to see these kids from the time they enter high school until they leave. And for some reason, most of these kids had never been to a restaurant before that changed their life, had never tasted an ingredient that had made their mouth or body change because of the taste of it. They had never truly been supported in a way that made sense for them to be in a school that taught you how to take care of other people. So I was like, this is it. And since then, we've just become very involved with every aspect of the Food Education Fund, whether that's through fundraising, through programming, through mentoring, employing, and just any possible thing to to do. Because what I see now, we now are partnered. Food Education Funds have partnered with 12 public high schools that have these types of programs for hospitality and culinary arts. It's the greatest talent pool that we've ever seen in the 9 years of running hospitality businesses. The students that we receive as interns become full-time team members. We have 16-year-old high school students from 7 years ago that are now 23 years old who are running our restaurants, the best restaurants in the city, the best restaurants in this country, and it works. And so I just as excited as I was that day in that first tour of the school, I even more excited today. And we've grown so much, and we have so much more to go. And I think about our industry in New York City of hospitality. We loved for so many decades. We were built on people coming from all around the world to New York City because this was the dining capital of the world. In order for you to be somebody in our industry, you had to do it in New York City, whether you stayed here or leave. And what we've seen in the past 15 years is people leaving us. They come here, they do their thing, and they leave us. And I think it has been a reality we all faced. But what is amazing is we have these youth here that want to serve. They're desperate. They're desperate to treat others in an amazing way. And this is how our industry not just remains the dining capital world, but nobody can compete with us going forward. And these kids are it. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to find this great program. And now these kids are going to all the best restaurants. Every restaurant in our city now, the best ones, the most popular ones, the most special places that we have in New York City, these high school students are a part of that. And it's truly, it's working. It's working. So, I'm just grateful that it is. I'm excited to continue to build it. And thanks for asking me about it. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting like little goosebumps here. You talk about. It. I don't even have any more questions, but I, uh, I, I hear you. I understand. I totally get it. It's really incredible and a treat to hear you speak about it. Honestly, I mean, I've heard it in forums and stuff like that. And we support Food Education Fund, and we're finding
Really,
ways
thank you. You
to
do.
work more closely with you all, and also High School Food and Finance. And we too are all fighting the good fight. And in fight's not the right word, but we're there to support and grow and develop and continue to motivate and inspire. And the way that we can do it is by making more connections and broadening the scope for them so they also see, the national possibilities, international possibilities, et
Yeah.
cetera. So
It's really that opportunity is opening doors, showing what's possible. And it's not even about jobs. It's about understanding who you are. If you are really compassionate, if you're very creative, if you love collaborating, being on a team, if you are really good at communicating, if you possess one of those four traits, you can be extraordinary in hospitality. And hospitality is such a huge economy now, a huge industry that it's almost like you want to help others understand who they are, be confident in who they are, and then if you're excited about food, if you're excited about experiences, treating others a certain way, then it's like, okay, these are all the ways you can do that. You could start a tech company, you could start a media company, you could start a restaurant, but you could also be an employee at that too. And employees can feel fulfillment as well. And it's just showing people, just trying to explain what's out there. And the quicker you feel comfortable with who you are and excited about that and confident in yourself, then you're just going to attack and anybody can do it.
yeah. On that note, we're gonna go to quick fire.
Quick fire, let's go.
Um, but I'm given a moment to shift because I have so many more things that I want to and could go into in that direction. Maybe there's a second episode
We'll
coming.
do round two. Round two.
Okay. What advice would you tell your younger self?
Just keep being you.
What's your advice for someone struggling in the industry?
Every time you feel stagnant, frustrated, questioning why you're even doing it, I think understanding when you're feeling that and not making a rash decision and take that energy that you're feeling and move it towards growth. It could be sending an email to someone, reading an article that inspires you, listening to a podcast. I do think, just from my standpoint, when I was frustrated in finance in my earlier career, I would look at similar jobs at different places. Maybe a change of scenery is going to change my outlook. And um, I learned over the years to, when I started feeling these things, maybe just sitting in it, knowing I was feeling something, and what am I really gonna change? And that led me to talking to Missy about being a partner, um, and doing something completely out of my comfort zone, because I was obsessed with restaurants, and I just kept on every time I would feel a little frustrated or stagnant, questioning why am I even doing this? I'm scared somebody's gonna fire me. Instead of like looking for something else, I just started taking that energy and shifting it. Try to get inspired by something. So I think you could, try to, if you believe you have friends that you could share things with, be more vulnerable with, that's always a good help. You can't go through something alone. Nobody should ever do that. But that's hard because why am I going to open up to somebody? It's not easy, but it always helps you. But I also think, you know, you could do it yourself too. Um, but you just have to sit in it and really be thoughtful when you have this feeling. Why is it there? And what other things can I do besides, taking the same job somewhere else?
What's your advice for fellow hospitality leaders?
How can we do the things that we love to do together? Um, More collaboration, more connectivity. I think it is a community that exists to make everyone feel seen and have a better day. And what the pandemic showed us was that it was the first time where we were really able to talk honestly together, the challenges, obstacles we face, how we were being vulnerable with each other. And I think it was a really powerful moment. And I think other hospitality leaders, how how can we continue to do this together would be uh, would be just an awesome goal for us to have. Because I just know it. If we're all in it for the same reason, we should be doing it together. So that would be an advice.
Perfect ending. On that note, Sean, thank you so much for spending time with us. Your restaurants are some of the top favorites on our list, and I can't wait to bring my daughter. She hasn't experienced it yet, so we're saving that for a
We'll be the
special.
newest member of the Pasta Patrol.
Absolutely. And thank you. It's been really extraordinary to support you and your teams through this growth, and we can't wait to see what's next.
Well, we are so grateful for you, and I am thankful that you made my day. So have a good rest of your day too, and I'll talk to you in round two. And tell me.
Yes, you as well. Remember, success looks different for everyone in hospitality. No two paths are the same. If you have a leader or a topic you want to hear about, email media@culinaryaagents.com. Hospitality on the Rise is brought to you by Culinary Agents, connecting top talent with employers since 2012. Whether you're hiring or looking for your next opportunity, join us at culinaryagents.com. For more inspiration, subscribe to Hospitality on the Rise and visit hospitalitycareerpaths.com, a free platform by Culinary Agents. Thanks for tuning in. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe. And if you love this episode, share it with someone who could use a little inspiration.